it's been a while since I did a video. I've been kind of covered up with stuff, and here I am working on a project I've had, well, for the last few months. Kind of I would say, unintentional project. I wadded up my truck. I've had this truck for getting on about 10 years now. It was a 2-owner, 12-valve truck when I got it. I think it had 119,000 miles on it. Now it has 308,000 on it. So I've put a lot of miles on it. It's been across the country a couple times, and I hit a truck with it, messed up front end. So it's going Frankenstein style right now. It's got a black hood and a black fender. Let me see. That's pretty much where I'm at with it. Here's my truck. Like I say, 98 model, second gen. Just a work truck. She's rough and just been using it as a work truck. And here's my replacement panels, the damage that was done to it. I've got a picture of the damage that was done to it. The old, you can see a pile back in the scrap pile back there of fenders and a bumper and a hood. There you go. But the heart of the beast. Good old reliable 6-speed T, 12-valve. It's got a 5-speed NB 4500 behind it. Already fixed the 5th gear twice, which is a common problem. So, but the plan is here is take the AFC unit, if you can see it focused there, off this off the P pump. It's a P7100 pump that's common on these Dodges, and take it off. Take the fuel plate out of it. I did move it at one time and messed with the star wheel a little bit, but I didn't see any major difference. So this time I feel like I'm just going to go a little deeper and try to see if I can get a little more power out of the truck. I've had it for, like I say, about 8-9 years, and I'll definitely see a difference if I do this to it, and or know a difference for sure. Closer eye to it is just taking off the intake elbow. That's the reason I tell everybody I drive a 12-valve, is because I've worked on Power Strokes and Duramaxes, Power Strokes 7.3s, 6.0s, 6.4s, 6.7s, whichever, and even the newer Cumminses, and there's nothing by far as simple as this engine is. Even the old IDI 7.3s and 6.9s were nowhere near as simple as this, and I guess because it's such a simple truck, it's done well with me because I've rode it hard and put it up wet. So here we go. That's the first step, just taking that off right there. Took my 2 boost control lines off there. I guess you would call that boost control. If you can see it, kind of hiding under the fuel lines, and I hope I can get to it without taking the fuel lines loose. Right there on the, if you're on the driver's side fender of the truck, if you're looking at it, there on the, basically the top left corner of the AFC is a tamper-proof screw right there. You can sort of see it. It's just got like a little rivet look to it. You have to take, what I've seen from some people, take a chisel and I just took this chisel and freshly sharpened it, and go in there and knock basically a straight slot in it for a straight slot screwdriver, and then use a straight slot screwdriver to just break it loose, because you've already got a straight slot screw on this side too. So taking those 4 screws loose to take this unit completely off so you can get to the fuel plate is the goal here. Well, there's the what's left of that screw. I got cut it kind of close there. I had a chunk I was hammering on it and the chunk came off. I guess this is just a soft metal screw, so it don't take much to come off. So I got it where it would come out. Just make sure you've got the washers and stuff that all come off with it, that you don't drop them down into something or something down in there. So there's my tamper-proof bolt. So the rest of them should be self-explanatory. Successfully, you can see there, successfully taking the AFC housing off. This has a slot, it kind of sits in a slot in the fuel plate, so you kind of have to pull it back, then lift it up and out. That's just the AFC housing there. Nothing that you really need to do to it till after you get it on back on. But two straight slot screws that hold the fuel plate itself in. They have washers on them too, so you make sure you don't drop a screw or anything down in the pump, or you're gonna have a bad day because you're gonna have to take the pump off or go fishing with a very tiny magnet. I've been told these are very tight, that they need to be taken off with a impact driver, which I will get here in just a second. Impact driver, that's what you want to try to use to take these loose. You don't have to have a high dollar one. I've never had a high dollar one, and they've always worked just about the same. The biggest thing is having good bits and a good end on it. A little whack with the impact driver. These guys are loose. Yeah, very loose. Don't really need a screwdriver now, so watch what I'm doing with my fingers. Washer and bolt in the magnet tray there. Washer and bolt. Magnet tray. Let's take his fuel plate out. It's a little fella. There you go. And let me see something here. All right. Let me get a rag and clean this off, and we'll go from there. Had 300,000 miles of a little bit of crud on it. What they say is the Zero Plate is basically taking this little end. Let me see if I can get my finger on it. And actually, so this little end right here, this little cam end, and just basically cutting it completely off with a Ziz wheel, smoothing it out, because that's where your fuel rack rides. So if you do take that off, the supposed horsepower gain is 70 horsepower. This truck, I think, with being it's a manual, it's a 98, it's got a little bigger injector than the automatic. I think stock, this thing made 215. So a 70 horsepower gain would put me at 285. So that would put me horsepower wise about the same as like an LB7 Duramax, which would be awesome because this truck pulls great, gets great mileage. It just, it's a little bit of a turd when you go up the mountain. If you know anything about North Carolina in this area, we have, and where I'm at, we have to pull the mountains and big hills every once in a while. So I'm hoping maybe to do this and keep my EGTs down and not hurt the motor. But this, just as an experiment to try something different. And while I've got the truck apart, or to truck here where I can work on it pretty regular, and I'm gonna do it. So this is what it looks like stock. So next video will be this thing trimmed down. I think I'm gonna leave this be. It's I cut it with a cutoff wheel and a grinder. Got a little hot there, but I think I'm gonna leave this be. I'm not 100% sure about the end there. This little knife edge, if it'll be okay or not. I hope that'll be fine. So I guess we'll let it eat. Put it in there and see what happens. All right, fuel plate setting back in. That's the way it goes back in right there with that slot towards the firewall. Slide it all the way far forward, what I've been told. So it's slid all the way forward, full of fuel. Let's tighten that sucker back down real good and put the AFC housing back on. I'm gonna reuse this gasket here. It's still got a little bit of life to it, so I'm gonna reuse that gasket. No major issue. If it does leak a little bit, I can go back and replace it. But I'll clean it real good, put it back on. Put the AFC or air fuel control housing back on. It's basically like turning up the jets in your old Holler carburetor. Tree fitted with 4-bolt main, double hump heads, something like that, you know. There you go. set some bolts back in this thing, and then you just slide it all the way forward to get the maximum out of it. Okay, as a note for everyone, because I haven't seen anybody post this on there, if anybody needs to know the size of the bolt to replace that tamper-proof bolt, this is the other bolt on the top of the AFC housing. So I'm going to replace them both with hex head just because, you know, just so it's the same, uniform. Just so everybody knows, I've got a good assortment here. So it's a 6mm by 6mm by 1.0 pitch by 20mm long. If you just want to use a regular screw of any sort. It's a touch longer, so if you have to use a washer, but I think it should be just fine. So I'm going to try. I'm going to reuse the washers and the locks that was on there. But just so everybody has the information, there you go. If you can see it, 6mm by 1.0 pitch, 20mm long, just a regular hex head screw. Cool. All right, intake back on, AFC housing back on. Last adjustment is taking this little cap loose, 8mm Allen or 5/16, whichever you prefer. Take that off. Put it in your little tray there, and in there you can see it. You can see your star wheel. I've moved it once before. I think I'm gonna count maybe 30-40 clicks this way. If you can see my finger this way, like towards the passenger fender, that moves it, loosens the spring, so it gives you more fuel. I'm gonna try this, and like I say, I'm gonna keep an eye on my EGTs, put EGTs on it and make sure I don't do too much fuel to it and bring those EGTs too high. All right, start up the truck. Nothing too out of the ordinary for me. Typical 12-valve startup, so we'll take it down the road and see what we got. All right, I'm gonna get out here on the straight stretch. Try it out first time. Get on the highway. See what we got, see what the big difference. Like I said, I've owned this truck for 8 years, so I should kind of know what kind of performance it has and see if it does anything. So, get her out here on the straight stretch. Let's see what we got.
Ooh, that's...
I've got a clutch with about 200,000 miles on it, and when I try to fuel it up, the clutch is toast. So that was my fear. I've got more power, obviously, but my clutch won't handle it. So we'll try to see what I can do after I put a new clutch in the truck. That's my next step, I guess. All right. Obviously, 300,000 mile truck with probably a 200,000 mile clutch in it, because I've had the truck since it's had a little over 100,000 on it, and now here I sit with a truck almost a little over 300,000 on it, and clutch has almost 200,000 miles on it, and it can't handle the new and improved fuel plate. So obviously there was a power gain somewhere. I've seen a lot of different smoke, a lot more smoke for sure, but that doesn't mean equal power. But yep, next step, put a clutch in it and see if the old turd will run. So thanks for watching. All right, the consensus is it obviously gives you a little more power somewhere in the long run on this fuel plate deal. Cutting it flat like that makes it considered a zero plate, I guess. I don't, like I say, 70 horsepower gains what I've heard through the internet, and the internet does not lie. So if it is a 70 horsepower gain, that was 70 horsepower more than my clutch can handle anymore. So pop transmission out, put a clutch in that truck, see if it'll hold it, get us a good clutch in it, and I get back to pulling race car trailers and stuff like that. This was kind of not a surprise to me with the way I've drove this truck the last 200,000 miles. I've kept her in the red line, let's put it that way, and I've run it pretty hard and done a lot of pulling with it, and the old clutch should be good and wore out by now. So stay tuned. I'll do a clutch in it. Might do a little video on that. See if I come up with anything with that. Subscribe, watch. I appreciate my sister-in-law Jamie doing the video of us driving down the road and the final video here. Thanks. Howdy there. Clutch time. So pulling her out, see what we got. Here we are. It's clutch time. Got the truck up in there, got the transmission out, so I'll show you this clutch, and you'll see why the extra 70 horsepower didn't stick. I don't think the regular 215 horsepower was going to stick much longer. The transmission's out. Got her out. Nice wore out clutch, but this side isn't as bad. Let's get that flipped over around here. Oh yeah. Clutch was toast. I think it was toast to begin with. I say 200,000 miles on a clutch. It's about all you can really get out of one that I'll probably drive as hard as I do this one. So actually not burn up too bad. So not slipping too bad. The flywheel isn't got too many hot spots in it. I'm gonna get it resurfaced and yeah, get it resurfaced. Put a new clutch in it. Call it a day. All right, we did a little test drive with a fresh clutch in it, just a stock clutch, because I do a lot of just towing an enclosed trailer with it. You can kind of see, I'll post a picture on this video of what happened to the truck, but you can see what the panels I replaced. Nothing too crazy. Had to put a bumper, a hood, fender, core support, radiator, intercooler, all that good jazz back in it. But while I figured I was in here tinkering with it, I'd do the fuel plate. Like I say, 3 horsepower. I could feel it in the seat. I'm not going to dyno the truck. I'm not looking for anything crazy, but I could definitely feel it in the seat. The lower mid-range, high mid-range power is increased. Definitely torqueier going up a hill when you're rolling the throttle. So cool deal. I'm gonna do some more research on it. I'm gonna throw an EGT gauge on it and a boost gauge on it, just to keep a monitor on that, because when you do this, you are adding fuel, and if you put too much fuel to it, you might get those EGTs too high. So I do notice the exhaust manifold and the exhaust pipes underneath the truck is hotter than usual, or they're making a lot more noise, ticking from the heat a little more. So, but thanks for watching, and if you got any questions or comments or do's or don'ts for me, let me know. This is kind of my first time messing with a fuel plate on a 12 valve, and so far seems to be okay. Thanks. Morning, y'all. Took my truck on a trip the other day to go pick up some stuff. Get a long trip on the interstate, and had a major oil leak, and was wondering what the world was going on. And I'll show you what's up here. It's pretty surprising. All right, I've heard this is common on 12 valves, and supposedly I got lucky. So I had an oil leak because a part of my timing case broke off. Where's it at? Here it is. Because this timing case dowel pin fell out, and you can see where it's been rolling on the gears. I guess it rolled in between the gears, and you can see where it's been rolling on the aluminum right there. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna have to repair my timing case or put another one on it now. Fun, good stuff. At least I'm fortunate enough it didn't get down in the gears and break a gear and do more damage than that. So I'll look at the bright side of things. But I hear this is a common problem, and I guess when I rear-ended something, it jarred it loose. Rear-ended that truck, so oh well, we'll fix it. All right, I'm since it's COVID time and I'm quarantining, I've been digging through the vault in my phone of some videos I've made. One was this one where I did a zero plate on my truck. Ran into some problems with the clutch, got the clutch fixed. Just wanted to kind of update the video and edit this part. This will be basically the end of it. Anybody ever wants to do a zero plate on their 12-valve Cummins, just a stock 12-valve Cummins like mine was, I highly recommend it. Good power gain. The only real complaint I have, I don't have a lot of tailpipe smoke, but do have a little loss in fuel mileage, like 2 miles to the gallon, which to me for the power gain is completely worth it. I've never had my truck dynoed or anything, so I can just base off of how well it pulls now. Definitely has better mid-range power if you lug it. Especially, it used to be if I lugged it in 5th gear, I had to downshift to 4th. That's no longer a problem. It seems to build up boost a lot quicker. Definitely more mid to high range power, a little more torque. Like I say, from what I can find online on the internets, the going rate for like a zero plate is like I think a 50 to 70 horsepower gain. And that's probably about what I feel is probably about a 50 horsepower gain. The truck just drives and pulls a lot better to me, and it's the stock clutch is holding up just fine. I heard a couple of people say you don't want to run a stock clutch after you do any kind of tune work on the plate, but can't complain. I didn't go crazy with my fuel wheels, so not rolling coal per se. If the truck idles a while, it'll roll a bunch of smoke, but running down the road, it does have a little bit of smoke out the tailpipe, but not a ton. So anybody out there got the question whether they should take their old 12-valve and grind her down to a zero, I recommend it. To me, I say it's a good way to go. Save yourself the money of, you can buy one of these kits with like a 10 plate or whatever the number plates are out there. Just take your plate out, grind it flat like I did in this video, and go for it. I've drove the truck now I've got hair now, so it's been about 4 or 5 months. I did it first of this year. It's May now, so yeah. So about 4 or 5 months, I did it. Would recommend it, and yeah, give it a go. Thanks.